The afternoon sun streamed through my bedroom window as I stood in front of the mirror, freshly showered, my skin still damp. I had just slipped into my favorite lavender-scented lotion, the cool cream gliding over my thighs as I massaged it in. The house was quiet, my father was at a business meeting, the maids were off for the day, and I had the entire mansion to myself. I bent over slightly, my hands resting on the plush ottoman at the foot of my bed, applying the cream to my calves when I heard a sharp knock at the door. Before I could even straighten up, the door swung open. "Miss Laura." Marcus's deep voice cut through the silence, but it faltered the second he saw me. I froze, still in a doggy-like position, my back arched, my bare body glistening under the soft light. His sharp intake of breath was audible. My heart hammered as I slowly turned my head, meeting his stunned gaze. Marcus, my father's tall, broad-chested driver, stood frozen in the doorway, his usually composed expression completely shattered. His dark eyes, usually so disciplined, raked over me with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. The way his fitted black uniform stretched across his chest, the way his strong hands clenched at his sides, I had never noticed just how powerfully masculine he was until now. Time seemed to stop. I should have covered myself. I should have screamed. But the way he was looking at me, like I was something forbidden yet irresistible, made my skin burn in a way the lotion never could. His voice was rough, strained. "Your father, he's been in an accident. The hospital called. I came to tell you." His words barely registered. All I could focus on was the way his Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard, the way his knuckles whitened from gripping the doorframe. He was fighting himself, and that only made me bolder. Instead of scrambling for a towel, I straightened slowly, letting him see every curve before turning to face him fully. His breath hitched. "Marcus," I murmured, my voice lower than I intended. His jaw clenched. "I shouldn't be here." But he didn't move. And in that charged silence, something shifted between us. Neither of us would ever forget this moment. The next morning, I made sure to accidentally cross paths with Marcus in the hallway, dressed in nothing but a silk robe that slipped open just enough to tease. His eyes darkened as I bit my lip, pretending to adjust the tie. "You're up early, Miss Laura," he said, voice strained. "Couldn't sleep," I purred, brushing past him, close enough to catch his cedar cologne, to feel his breath hitch. "Maybe you should check my room for drafts later?" His grip tightened on the car keys. "That's not my job." "Then make it yours." I left him standing there, pulse racing. At dinner, I spilled wine on my white dress, gasping as the fabric clung. Marcus's jaw flexed when I beckoned him closer. "Help me clean up?" His thumb grazed my collarbone, slow and deliberate. "You're playing with fire. Good thing you know how to handle heat." That night, a single rose appeared on my pillow, no note needed. The game had begun. The mansion trembled under the force of the summer storm, rain lashing against the windows like 1,000 impatient fingers. The power flickered, plunging my bedroom into brief darkness before the emergency lights bathed everything in a sultry amber glow. I knew he was still downstairs. Marcus never left until the last light was off. Wrapping myself in a sheer chemise that left little to imagination, I padded barefoot to the kitchen where he stood, his silhouette massive against the storm-lit windows. "You should be asleep, Miss Laura," he murmured, though his eyes drank me in hungrily. "I'm scared of storms," I lied, stepping closer. A crack of thunder made me jump, right into his arms. His body was electric against mine, all hard muscle and restrained power. "You're playing a dangerous game," he warned, but his hand slid up my bare waist. "Then arrest me, officer," I whispered, recalling his time in military security. That undid him. His mouth crashed onto mine, hot and demanding, backing me against the marble countertop. My fingers tangled in his hair as his hands explored, claiming, possessive. The storm outside was nothing compared to the one we unleashed. When the lights surged back on, we were breathless, lips swollen. His forehead pressed to mine, voice ragged, "This can't happen again." But the hunger in his eyes promised it would. "Tomorrow. Tonight." now. The moment the next shadow fell across us. The garage smelled of leather and engine oil as Marcus pinned me against the polished Bentley, his hands rough yet tender on my waist. Moonlight streamed through the high windows, painting silver stripes across his sweat-slicked chest as we came together in breathless whispers. We shouldn't, his protest died against my lips as I unbuttoned his uniform shirt. Then tell me to stop, I challenged, feeling his heartbeat thunder against my palm. His answering groan vibrated through me as his mouth found that spot below my ear. Somewhere in the mansion, a clock chimed midnight, our stolen hour almost up. We moved together in the back seat, his jacket cushioning my head as he whispered sweet filth in that velvet voice. Afterwards, he traced my lips with trembling fingers, eyes full of wonder. You ruined me, he confessed, helping me straighten my dress with surprising gentleness. The security camera light blinked red above us. We'd been reckless. But as his kiss lingered on my wrist, a silent promise for tomorrow, I knew I'd risk it all again. The grandfather clock chimed 1 a.m. as Marcus and I lay tangled in my satin sheets, his calloused fingers tracing lazy circles on my bare shoulder. Outside, cicadas sang in the humid DC night. Your father's recovery shocked the doctors, Marcus murmured against my hair, his warm breath sending shivers down my spine. 3 days for what should have been 3 weeks. I smiled, remembering Dad barking orders from his hospital bed the very next morning. My fingers found the scar on Marcus's bicep. The Coleman family heals fast. You'll learn. Tires crunched on the driveway. We moved as one, Marcus rolling off the bed with military precision while I grabbed his shirt. He dressed in 3 swift motions, pausing only to kiss my frantic hands. The front door slammed. When Dad burst in, Marcus stood at attention beside my freshly fluffed pillows, holding my economics textbook. Midnight study session, sir. Your daughter takes after your work ethic. Dad's eyes narrowed at my flushed cheeks, then softened. That's my girl. As he left, Marcus winked, our secret safe, our hunger growing. The humid DC summer clung to my skin as I paced my bedroom, replaying last night's whispered confession in the back of the Bentley, Marcus's voice rough with emotion as he admitted, this isn't just physical for me anymore. My reflection in the vanity mirror betrayed me, swollen lips, dreamy eyes, the ghost of his touch still humming under my skin. I pressed a hand to my chest, willing my heartbeat to slow. This was supposed to be a reckless fling, a way to rebel against Dad's suffocating control. But Marcus had become something more, his quiet strength, the way his calloused hands cradled my face like I was precious, the secret smiles he reserved only for me. A knock startled me. Marcus stood in the doorway, holding 2 steaming mugs. Chamomile, he said, voice low. You barely slept. I took the mug, our fingers brushing. His gaze dropped to my mouth, then flickered away, the same restraint that first drew me and now driving me mad. We need to talk, I whispered. He exhaled sharply, shoulders tensing. I know. For once, neither of us reached for the other. The air between us crackled with unspoken fears, Dad's wrath, the scandal, the impossible divide between his world and mine. Then Marcus stepped closer, cupping my cheek. Tell me to walk away, he challenged, thumb stroking my jaw. And I will. My breath hitched. That was the problem. I couldn't. And judging by the desperate way his lips claimed mine seconds later, neither could he. The grandfather clock in the library struck midnight as Marcus and I lay tangled in the afterglow of our passion, my head resting against his rapidly rising and falling chest. The scent of our lovemaking mingled with the rich mahogany of my father's study, where we'd gotten reckless, where we'd gotten stupid. Marcus's fingers traced idle patterns along my bare spine. We should go, he murmured, though he made no move to get up. 5 more minutes, I whispered back, pressing a kiss to the scar above his heart. Fate gave us 30 seconds. The door burst open with a thunderous crash, flooding the room with blinding light. My father stood silhouetted in the doorway, his expression morphing from confusion to disbelief to rage in the span of a single heartbeat. What the hell is this? His voice was lethally quiet. Marcus moved faster than I'd ever seen, shielding my naked body with his own as he reached for his discarded shirt. "Sir, I can explain." "Out." Dad's roar shook the walls. "Get your goddamn hands off my daughter and get out." Marcus stood slowly, his body taut with tension, his eyes never leaving mine, apologizing, promising, begging me to understand. "Now, Carter, or so help me God." "Dad, stop." I scrambled to my feet, clutching Marcus's shirt to my chest. "This isn't what you think." "Oh, I know what this is," he spat, advancing on Marcus. "You're fired. You're done. If you so much as look at her again." "It's not his fault." I grabbed Dad's arm, desperation clawing at my throat. "I love him." The words hung in the air like a guillotine's blade. Dad froze. Marcus flinched. And in the terrible silence that followed, I watched my future, our future, crumble before my eyes. Marcus straightened his shoulders, his voice steady despite the storm in his eyes. "Sir, with all due respect. I love her too." Dad's fist connected with Marcus's jaw before I could blink. The sound of it, the betrayal of it, would haunt me forever. The grandfather clock in the library struck midnight as Marcus and I lay tangled in the afterglow of our passion, my head resting against his rapidly rising and falling chest. The scent of our lovemaking mingled with the rich mahogany of my father's study, where we'd gotten reckless, where we'd gotten stupid. Marcus's fingers traced idle patterns along my bare spine. "We should go," he murmured, though he made no move to get up. "5 more minutes," I whispered back, pressing a kiss to the scar above his heart. Fate gave us 30 seconds. The door burst open with a thunderous crash, flooding the room with blinding light. My father stood silhouetted in the doorway, his expression morphing from confusion to disbelief to rage in the span of a single heartbeat. "What the hell is this?" His voice was lethally quiet. Marcus moved faster than I'd ever seen, shielding my naked body with his own as he reached for his discarded shirt. "Sir, I can explain." "Out." Dad's roar shook the walls. "Get your goddamn hands off my daughter and get out." Marcus stood slowly, his body taut with tension, his eyes never leaving mine, apologizing, promising, begging me to understand. "Now, Carter, or so help me God." "Dad, stop." I scrambled to my feet, clutching Marcus's shirt to my chest. "This isn't what you think." "Oh, I know what this is," he spat, advancing on Marcus. "You're fired. You're done. If you so much as look at her again." "It's not his fault." I grabbed Dad's arm, desperation clawing at my throat. "I love him." The words hung in the air like a guillotine's blade. Dad froze. Marcus flinched. And in the terrible silence that followed, I watched my future, our future, crumble before my eyes. Marcus straightened his shoulders, his voice steady despite the storm in his eyes. "Sir, with all due respect. I love her too." Dad's fist connected with Marcus's jaw before I could blink. The sound of it, the betrayal of it, would haunt me forever. The courthouse elevator smelled of lemon cleaner and regret as Marcus squeezed my shaking hand. "Last chance to back out," he murmured, his thumb brushing my engagement ring, a simple silver band he'd bought with his last paycheck. I pressed closer, our reflection warped in the polished doors. "I've never been more sure of anything." The judge barely looked up from his paperwork as we recited our vows in the empty chamber. When Marcus slid the ring onto my finger, his hands, usually so steady, trembled violently. "Laura Coleman Carter," I whispered, testing the weight of my new name. It tasted like freedom and scandal all at once. Outside, summer rain poured down as Marcus shielded me with his suit jacket. We laughed like rebels, drunk on our foolish bravery, until reality sobered us, his tiny studio apartment, my dwindling trust fund, the sonogram photo tucked in my purse. Back home, my packed suitcases sat by the door. Dad's final text burned in my phone, "You make your choices. I make mine." Marcus wiped my tears with his calloused hands. "We'll build our own damn dynasty." That night, lying on his thrift store mattress, I realized this wasn't an ending. This was where our real story began. The cramped studio apartment smelled of instant coffee and ambition as Marcus spread job applications across our rickety kitchen table. Moonlight filtered through the single window, illuminating the dark circles under his eyes, evidence of back-to-back security shifts that paid barely enough to keep the lights on. I rubbed my growing belly absent-mindedly while stirring cheap ramen on the hot plate. White House called again. Marcus's shoulders tensed. Third interview tomorrow. He caught my worried expression and forced a smile. Hey, I survived 2 tours in Afghanistan. I can handle some bureaucrats. The next morning, I straightened his thrift store tie with trembling fingers. Make them see what I see, I whispered, pressing his dog tags to my lips, the ones he'd worn every day since discharge. Hours later, the door burst open. Marcus's usually stoic face was alight with something I hadn't seen in months: pride. Chief of Security, he breathed, lifting me into a spin that made my maternity dress flutter. Direct report to the president's detail. Our celebration was cut short by a sharp knock. A courier handed me an embossed envelope, Dad's stationery. Inside, a single line. Tell your husband his blacklisting ends today. Marcus's military posture faltered. Why now? I pressed the ultrasound photo to the mirrored back of Dad's note. Because blood is thicker than pride. That night, curled in our still unfurnished apartment, Marcus's palm cradled my stomach just as our baby kicked. We're gonna be okay, he murmured, no longer a hope, but a promise. Somewhere across town, my father stared at the sonogram copy I'd mailed, his whiskey untouched as he traced the tiny blurred fingers. The game had changed. And for the first time, we were all playing for the same team. The White House Correspondents' Dinner glittered around us, crystal chandeliers refracting light across Marcus's dress uniform. His new insignia gleamed, Chief of Security, a position even my father couldn't ignore. My emerald gown concealed the swell of our 7-month pregnancy, but nothing could hide the way my father's gaze lingered on my rounded belly from across the ballroom. He's been watching us all night, Marcus murmured, his hand possessive at the small of my back. I sucked in a breath as Dad broke away from his associates and marched toward us. Marcus stiffened, his combat instinct surfacing, until my father extended a trembling hand. Carter. The word was gruff, but the olive branch was clear. The room seemed to hold its breath as they shook. Then Dad's stern facade cracked. You're, well? He asked me, eyes darting to my stomach. Tears blurred my vision. We are. A beat of silence. Then, so quiet only we could hear, I've missed you, Firefly. My childhood nickname shattered me. Marcus discreetly stepped back as Dad pulled me into an awkward embrace, his cigar and cologne scent flooding me with memories. The nursery, his voice caught. It's still as you left it. Just, in case. Later, as we swayed on the dance floor, Marcus on one side, Dad on the other, I felt the baby kick violently. Dad's astonished laugh rang out, his hand frozen where my abdomen had jumped beneath his palm. Stubborn, he choked out. Just like his mother. Marcus met his eyes over my head. A silent understanding passed between them, not forgiveness, not yet, but the fragile beginning of something new. And when Dad pressed a kiss to my temple before walking away, I knew. This wasn't the end of our story. It was the start of everything. Looking back, our journey was never supposed to work, a billionaire's daughter and her father's driver, bound by a passion that ignited in scandal. That first accidental glimpse of my nakedness, the stolen moments in the garage, the fury in Dad's eyes when he caught us, it should have ended there. But love, reckless and stubborn, refused to die. Marcus rose from a dismissed employee to a respected White House official. I traded silk sheets for a love that demanded grit. And Dad? He learned that some bonds run deeper than pride. Now, as our toddler giggles in his grandfather's arms, the same man who once threw Marcus out, I realize this was our destiny all along. Not a cautionary tale, but a testament to love's power to break, rebuild, and redeem. The world said we'd fail. But here we are, unshaken.
Moral lesson. True love often blooms in unexpected places, but it requires courage, resilience, and accountability to survive. While passion may ignite recklessly, lasting relationships demand maturity, facing consequences, earning trust, and proving devotion through actions, not just words. The story also reveals how pride can blind us to what truly matters. Forgiveness and humility, whether from a wronged father or a determined couple, pave the way for redemption. Ultimately, love alone isn't enough. It's the choices we make after falling in love, choosing sacrifice over comfort, growth over stubbornness, that determine whether a forbidden flame burns out or becomes an unshakable foundation. In 10 words, love risks everything, but demands responsibility to truly triumph. Thank you for following the story to the end. Subscribe to our channel for subsequent stories and please click on the bell icon to turn on the notification.